Welcome to the Awesomers.com podcast. If you love to learn, and if you're motivated to expand your mind, and heck, if you desire to break through those traditional paradigms and find your own version of success, you are in the right place. Awesomers around the world are on a journey to improve their lives and the lives of those around them. We believe in paying it forward, and we fundamentally try to live up to the great Zig Ziglar quote, where he said, "You can have everything in your life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." It doesn't matter where you came from, it only matters where you're going. My name is Steve Simonson, and I hope you will join me on this awesomer journey.
If you're launching a new product manufactured in China, you will need professional, high-resolution, Amazon-ready photographs. Because Simo Global has a team of professionals in China, you will oftentimes receive your listings photographs before your product even leaves the country. This streamlined process will save you the time, money, and energy needed to concentrate on marketing and other creative content strategies before your item is in stock and ready for sale. Visit SimoGlobal.com to learn more, because a picture should be worth 1,000 keywords.
You are listening to episode number 67 of the Awesomers podcast series, and that's awesomers.com/67 to find today's show notes and relevant details, etc. Now today I am joined by Victor Ahipene. Now Victor's a very interesting young man and somebody who's I find to be fascinating because he's been speaking from the stage since he was literally 13 years old, and we talk about that kind of in depth in today's episode. This went on to lead him to do more speaking, and he has won national accolades at competitions, becoming one of the youngest ever to qualify as a public speaking teacher at only age 17. And this passion for public speaking got filed away for a bit while he was at university and became a physiotherapist. And it wasn't until he jumped into the entrepreneurial world that this love for speech and speech making was reignited. And today, being able to help other people get their message out to the world and leveraging that message using public speaking is part of what he loves to spend his time doing. And since all of that kind of was put together, he's really been on a mission, and he's since created 3 top-rated and ranked podcasts. He's been a keynote speaker around the world, and he's helped hundreds of others share their message and make an impact in their various industries and sessions. So it's something very inspiring, and I know we're going to learn a lot from today. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I hope that you're thrilled to be here as well. Hey everybody, it's me, Steve Simonson, and we're back again with another Awesomers.com podcast. And today I'm joined by my very special guest, Victor Ahipene. How about that?
Hey, hey, how's it going?
It's great to have you here. And for the Awesomers out there, I did receive a little coaching on the pronunciation. My custom is to mispronounce names, and that was just my first run at it. There will be other opportunities, I'm sure, that I mess it up. But Victor, I love what you're doing, and I've already read in the bio to the audience, so they kind of know where you came from the high level and all the cool and amazing things you've accomplished. But tell us in your own words kind of where you live today and what takes up your day-to-day time.
So I live in Brisbane, Australia. I'm originally from New Zealand, and I help people share their message to the world in a more confident manner to have more of an impact to the people that they can impact. And I guess that's changed shape and kind of gone full circle over the last 20 years at the extended way, but probably the last 3 or 4 years it's kind of gone quite a cool full circle. So yeah,
that's interesting. I can't wait to kind of get into that a little bit more. And one of the things that I found intriguing is that you started speaking at a very young age. So this idea of making an impact and positively moving, an organization or its objectives started early, even before you had an organization. Tell us about that when you, at just a young age of like 13, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, that's the interesting thing. So, today it's through the public speaking blueprint, but back then it was, so I'm New Zealand Māori, which is like the indigenous people of New Zealand. So, a lot of, people around the world might have seen the All Blacks and the haka that they do, the dance before the rugby. That's originally from the native people of New Zealand, and I went to a relatively, it was a private school, a relatively affluent school, one of them, the one that's
You
not
got it.
the one that's not the thing you do in the toilet. I went there, and I was one of literally a handful of Indigenous native kids with a background from New Zealand, being New Zealand Māori, and there was a speech competition that I more or less got pushed into due to no one else being able to enter it from our school. So it was kind of like, hey, we think this would be really great if you could do. We've entered you into it, and it was more like a forced thing that, in hindsight, I'm super grateful for. But at the time, it was very much outside my comfort zone. Like, I've always been a really confident person, and I think a lot of people probably resonate with being confident and then being absolutely terrified when you're on stage or when you're speaking in front of groups. Like, you see, I've got tons of friends and family and things like that who have been exactly the same. They're really, really outgoing in social circumstances, and then freeze or avoid speaking like it's the plague. And I wasn't too much different. And I kind of go back to when I went on stage, it was, all right, what do I know that I can already do? And it was, all right, well, it seems like an English class or whatever class you do your first talk, and it's write an essay, put it onto cue cards, tilt your head down, and just read, and do tremble, read, and occasionally look up to give eye contact, because apparently that's the go for speakers. And so that's what I did. And it's not hard to imagine that the speech didn't go that well. There was a whole raft of other things. You're meant to sing a song as you have like a support group. It's like culturally kind of a thing that after you speak, you'll do either a haka or a song, a waiata, and our school not having too many people who could do that. There just happened to be a class that the speech teacher had sent along, and they walked up on stage, and we had to kind of try and do the one that the All Blacks did, and it was pretty horrible.
I can only imagine. Yeah. Boy, so first of all, the pressure of having to deliver speech at 13 that you were kind of volunteered unwittingly at first. And I think we can all identify with that idea of, looking down at the cue cards, and then you look up at the audience, and occasionally you make a hand motion because you were told that, body language counts. But then to have to go on and do a song or something after that little performance, that seems like double downing on the torture for somebody who's not familiar with it. You must have been terrified.
Yeah, I was terrified, and I think that was the big thing, was it reflected. Like, apart from the speech not being probably presented and delivered the best it possibly could have, the other side of it was not having your looking back as preparation is key for everything that we do in business and life. The more you're prepared, the better. And knowing that, I didn't know if there was a song or anything happening at the end of it, because they kind of came up on stage afterwards when the organizer of the event's like, so where's your support group?
Wow.
Yeah. So it was kind of it was almost a comedy of errors. But I mean, personally, it was I'm a relatively competitive person, and I really don't like. And I mean, for me that day, losing was just not winning, or not knowing that I'd put out a good effort. I've never been a bad sports person. I've never been an elite level sports person at the same time. But I always tried to be as fit as I possibly could, as prepared as I possibly could. And going into that, I knew that there was something left on the table. So my mum enrolled me into some public speaking classes with the speech teacher at our school. And she kind of took me under my wing. She obviously saw something. She saw something. That's amazing. Definitely wasn't from that talk, but
you were also into it, despite kind of a first experience that was not necessarily positive, because of that competitive spirit. Like, hey, the only way to get better is to kind of double down on my own skills and my own knowledge.
Yeah, and that's why I say it was entered against my will to a degree. And then, I look back on it and I'm super grateful because the journey that it's taken me on. I mean, a year later, I came second in the same competition. And then, we entered it. And by the end of it, we had, a full support group that would go along every year. We had 4 speakers from our school. And so, I mean, there was the cool thing of me boosting my own confidence and skill levels, but there was also being the pioneer. And I love what Russell Brunson, he talks about being a pioneer. He said, you don't usually want to be a pioneer in anything for anybody because you're the one with all the arrows in their back lying face down in the dirt. But it's, I can definitely attest to that. But it's, the journey it kind of took me on is I went 0 to 100, and I was skipping assembly in the morning and going to other people's speech classes. I was getting out of, any kind of class I could and going there after school. I was getting my own ones, and we'd sit exams and do different things with the kind of speech qualifications that we're going through. And it ended up that myself and another guy who were very kind of, I guess, kindred spirits in the sense of how much we really enjoyed it once we found out that there were, just like anything, there were ways to be effective and good communicators. We pushed through a lot of the grades, and by the time we got to about a year out from finishing high school, we'd both graduated as qualified public speaking teachers, and we were then teaching our peers, and it had kind of gone like a pretty crazy journey from a confident trembling kid on stage at 13 to 17 years old, and you're now teaching people. You're now teaching the next generation of 13-year-olds. So it was pretty cool to have that skill, because I see so many people who don't, and it's kind of now my passion and my journey to help people change that.
It's good because a lot of people, and as you kind of talked about this, it's almost like an odd thing, because a lot of people with high confidence are terrified of speaking on stage. There's just some sort of break that happens between I'm really good at this, or I know what I'm talking about, to all these people are going to judge me. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially e-commerce companies that need to tell their story, are often reluctant to be the face of their company, or to whether it's on stage or on a video or a webinar or whatever, they're nervous about it. And it seems like somebody like yourself could really help, get them moving towards the right direction, which is anybody can do it.
And that's the amazing thing when you realize that there is a system. Like I say to people, if you're an accountant, but you were in your first year of studies at university and someone said to you, put together a statement of performance, position, and write a report, we've got a gun to your head and you need to do it. You're going to be trembling. You're obviously not going to do a good result. But give you 4 years of study and then it's probably going to be easy, or give you 4 years of work experience after that, and it's going to be something that you do 10 times a day. But a lot of people don't realize that there's systems and processes that you can do exactly the same in public speaking. They think some people have either got the gift of the gab, and we've already talked about it, like those people who command a conversation, or or are the confident person or the cheeky person maybe in class, aren't necessarily the great speakers. And I look at some of the people that I follow quite intently, and I'm sure some of your listeners do, like Tim Ferriss. Sure. And he said he was he's an introvert who's that really doesn't enjoy public speaking, and he obviously applies his own systems and and things to be able to speak. But a lot of people would deem him as an extrovert if they were to judge him from the speeches he gives, the books he writes, the podcasts he gives. And I think it's not so much, are you a good speaker because you're an extrovert or introvert? Everyone's going to have their own style. It's more, have you got a repeatable system that you can kind of plug what you want to deliver into and put something out to the world? And it doesn't matter if it's the boardroom, if it's your staff room with your staff, or if it's the TED stage in Vancouver and you're speaking to potentially millions on, or just even on camera for your e-commerce business. There's the kind of 80-20 rule where you can apply a certain framework, and then for each talk there might be certain tweaks that you can do to then optimize. But if you know that the overall framework, you're going to give a good presentation regardless of if you have the smaller tweaks.
So Victor, one of the things that you kind of alluded to earlier is this concept of having, a framework. And I think that's probably some of what you deal with the public speaking blueprint, or what you talked about earlier. Is that true? Is that how you work it?
Yeah. So, I mean, and this is something that I love seeing the transformation with people in, because some of the live, I mean, I train people kind of through online training programs, through, one-to-one stuff at a higher level. But when we run live training events, it's amazing seeing a transformation that can happen. I mean, I throw people in giving an impromptu talk on a random topic at the start of the day, and then we do it again before lunch. And like the confidence, people are just strutting down the street going, yeah, I've got this. I'm going to nail this, because they've now seen, hey, cool, just like learning to drive a car was really hard. Yeah, public speaking is hard, and then I can make it a lot easier and then fine tune that. And so what I look at from kind of the 80-20 of public speaking is this blueprint, and it involves learning